Our long, long human story. Very, very long ago, people were not like us. They lived in trees. They ate fruit. They were like apes. Their bodies were different. Their hands were good for climbing. Their feet were good for grasping branches. Life was simple. These early ancestors lived in a warm land. Many animals lived there too. The sun was often hot. There was much green forest. They ate plants. They found berries. They found leaves. They were safe in the trees. Then, the world started to change. Some forests became smaller. There was more grassland. It was not easy to find food in trees. Some apes came down from the trees. They walked on the ground. This was a big step. They started to walk on two legs. Not all the time, but sometimes. Walking on two legs made them taller. They could see further. They could see over the tall grass. They could see if big animals were near. Walking on two legs was a very important change. It is called bipedalism. Their backs change. Their feet change. It took many, many years. This new way of walking saved energy. They could walk for longer. Their hands became free. When they walked on two legs, their hands did not need to touch the ground. This was a gift. They could use their hands for other things. What could they do with free hands? They could carry things. They could carry food. They could carry water. They could carry their babies. This made life better. They did not need to eat all the food at once. They could take some food to a safe place. With free hands, they could also make things. This was the start of tools. At first, the tools were very simple. They used stones. They found a stone. They used it to hit another stone. The stone would break. When the stone broke, it had a sharp edge. This sharp edge was useful. They could use it to cut meat. They could use it to break bones. They could get to the soft marrow inside the bones. This was a new food source. The brain also started to grow. A bigger brain helped them think more. They could remember things. They could plan things. They could learn from their mistakes. They could learn from others. They started to eat more meat. Meat has much protein. Protein helps the brain grow. They did not hunt big animals often. They often found dead animals. They used their stone tools to get the meat. These early people lived in groups. Living in groups was safe. Many eyes could see danger. Many hands could help. They shared food. They shared tasks. This made them stronger. They started to live in different places. They moved from one area to another. They looked for food. They looked for water. They looked for safety. They always needed these three things to live. A very important discovery was fire. Maybe they saw fire from lightning. Maybe they saw fire from a volcano. Fire was scary at first. But then they learned to control it. This was a huge step. Fire kept them warm. The nights were cold. Fire gave them light. The nights were dark. Fire kept away dangerous animals. Big cats and other predators did not like fire. They also used fire to cook food. Cooked meat was easier to chew. Cooked meat was easier to digest. It made them healthier. It also helped their brains grow even more. Fire made them gather together. They sat around the fire. Sitting around the fire helped them talk. They made sounds. They made gestures. These sounds became words. Simple words at first. Words for food, water, danger, friend. This was the start of language. Language helped them share ideas. They could teach their children. They could tell others about a good hunting spot. They could plan hunts together. Language made them very strong. They built simple shelters. Sometimes they lived in caves. Caves were natural homes. They were dry. They were safe. If no caves were near, they made huts. They used branches and leaves. They started to wear clothes. They used animal skins. They hunted animals for food. The skins kept them warm. They made simple needles from bone. They used sinews from animals as thread. This was clever. As time passed, their tools became better. They made spears. They made axes. They made tools for cutting wood. They made tools for scraping skins. They learned to make different tools for different jobs. They started to move out of Africa. This was a great migration. They walked across land. They followed animals. They found new places. They went to Asia. They went to Europe. Later, they went to Australia and America. Every new place was a new challenge. The weather was different. The animals were different. The plants were different. They had to learn new ways to live. They had to adapt. This was very important for survival. In Europe, it was often cold. There was ice and snow. They wore warm clothes. They lived in warm caves. They learned to hunt big animals like mammoths. They used clever traps. These people started to make art. They drew pictures on cave walls. They drew animals. They drew people. They drew hands. These paintings are still there today. They tell us about their life. They also made small statues. They used bone, stone, and clay. These artworks show they had thoughts beyond just food and safety. They had culture. They had beliefs. Different groups of humans lived at the same time. One group was Neanderthals. Another group was Homo sapiens, which is us. Neanderthals were strong. They lived in Europe. Homo sapiens lived in Africa, then moved out. Homo sapiens had a more developed brain. They were better at planning. They were better at innovating. They made more advanced tools. They had better language. They were more flexible. Eventually, Homo sapiens became the only type of human. The Neanderthals disappeared. We do not know exactly why. Maybe they could not compete for food. Maybe the climate changed too much for them. Many thousands of years passed. People kept learning. They kept changing. Then, a new big change happened. It was called the Neolithic Revolution. This was the start of farming. Before farming, people were hunters and gatherers. They moved to find food. With farming, they could grow their own food. They planted seeds. They grew wheat. They grew rice. They grew other crops. They also started to domesticate animals. They tamed wolves to become dogs. Dogs helped with hunting. They tamed sheep and goats. These animals gave meat and milk. Farming changed everything. People did not need to move all the time. They could stay in one place. They built houses. They built villages. These villages grew bigger and bigger. Staying in one place meant they could have more things. They could make better tools. They could make pottery. Pottery helped to store food and water. They could make cloth from plants or animal wool. Life became more settled. Not everyone had to hunt or farm. Some people could do other jobs. Some made pots. Some made tools. Some built houses. This is called specialization. Villages became towns. Towns became cities. Cities were big. Many people lived together. They needed new rules. They needed new ways to organize things. This was the start of government. In cities, new ideas came. Writing was invented. Writing helped them keep records. They wrote about food. They wrote about laws. They wrote about stories. This helped to pass knowledge through time. They learned to work with metal. First, copper. Then bronze. Then iron. Metal tools were much stronger than stone tools. They made better weapons. They made better farming tools. This was a big technological leap. They invented the wheel. The wheel helped to move heavy things. It made transportation easier. They built carts. They built chariots. Trade grew. People could exchange goods over longer distances. Great civilizations grew. Ancient Egypt with its pyramids. Ancient Rome with its roads and laws. Ancient China with its inventions. Each civilization added something new to the human story. Knowledge grew. Science started. They learned about the stars. They learned about the body. They learned about numbers. Learning was shared. Books were written. Schools were made. Then came the Industrial Revolution. This was another huge change. Machines were invented. Factories were built. People moved from farms to cities to work in factories. Life changed very fast. Trains and steamships made travel faster. Electricity lit up homes. Cars appeared. Airplanes flew. The world became smaller. Communication became faster. The telephone helped people talk over distances. In the last 100 years, change has been even faster. Computers were invented. They help us think. They help us work. They help us learn. The internet connects people all over the world. We learned to go to space. We sent people to the moon. We sent robots to other planets. We are still exploring. We are still learning. The human story is still going on. From walking on two legs to building rockets. From simple stone tools to complex computers. From living in caves to living in big cities. Humans have come a long way. We are still evolving. Our world is always changing. We face new challenges. We find new solutions. We learn. We grow. This is the story of us. This is the story of humanity. We are all part of this amazing and long journey.